the recording now. And then, so we'll go through the project, then we'll go through the community meeting checklist items, and then after that, we'll take questions. So this meeting proposal is for the Harundale Plaza, which is located at 770 Ritchie Parkway at Aquahart. The proposed development does not have any proposed building changes. It is a subdivision of the existing property into 8 separate lots. So I can go through, I'm sure you guys, local residents are familiar with it. The proposed plan is to draw lines dividing the lots, dividing several of the buildings into lots, 8 total, with shared access easements and shared parking easements on the site. So we have lot 1 where the ice cream is, or parcel 1 is the parking lot back here. Parcel 2 is dividing up the Brewster's ice cream. Parcel 3 is the bank. Parcel 4 is Outback, and then we have some of the other buildings divided into separate lots. There's Regency Furniture and the Mission Catering and offices as a separate lot with a shared parking agreement. And there's lot 8, which has Lidl Supermarket, the former Burlington Coat Factory, and Crazy Crab, and a few other smaller retail items. So I also have a color plan, if that makes it a little clear, on how the proposed site is going to be divided up. So now I can go through the community meeting checklist. So the first item is explanation of regulatory requirements of 17-107 of the county code and why the community meeting is being held. Because there is a subdivision of the property and it adjoins residential lots, a community meeting is required in the 6-month period before the initial submission for subdivision. We're supposed to present the public with the info regarding the planned subdivision of the site. Number 2 is the name and location of the project. It's Harundale Plaza at 7700 Ritchie Highway at Aquahart Road in Glen Burnie. The existing ownership is Harundale TI Investors, and it's private. The existing zoning of the site is C3 commercial. Oh, whether or not the project is a capital improvement project or privately proposed, it's privately proposed. Zoning C3 commercial. It is whether or not the property is in the critical area. It is not in the critical area. Location of all environmental features on the site as listed in the sketch plan and preliminary plan checklist. There are no environmental features on the site as a shopping center. There's also location of forest, individual specimen trees, and priority forest areas. There is none of that on the site. Description of any single lot residential projects. There are none on the site. Description of proposed multi-unit lot residential projects, including, well, that is not relevant because it is not a residential project. Description of proposed non-residential mixed-use projects, including existing and proposed use of the property. It is a commercial property. Existing uses as a shopping center with retail, bank, veterinary and quick service, table service, catering, and supermarket, among others. Any proposed demolition of existing improvements or structures, there are none proposed. Number of lots to be subdivided or reconfigured, there are 8, as shown. The number and type of residential units being proposed, there are none. Amount of non-residential floor area, there is currently, and to remain, 217,619 square feet. Number of floors in any buildings proposed. There are no proposed buildings. The proposed maximum height of any buildings proposed. There are none. Approximate road configurations of each type of road. Roads are existing to remain. Number and so not applicable. Number and description of parking spaces. They are going to be surface spaces, and there's approximately 1,290 spaces. Proposed site circulation features for passenger vehicles, transit vehicles, delivery vehicles, and pedestrians. That is existing to remain as is. The amount of any required or proposed green space. There is an existing plaza in between the two large buildings to remain. Conceptual stormwater management, that is existing stormwater management to remain. Proposed area limits of disturbance, there are no proposed disturbances. It's a subdivision of the existing property. And proposed green on site or building features, there's no building being proposed. For residential or mixed use projects that impacted schools or whether or not they are open or closed, there's no residential proposed on the site. Types of water service. It is public water service is existing to remain. Proposed impact to each environmental feature and list of modifications that will be required for impact to each environmental feature. There are none on the site. Proposed mitigation to offset impacts. That's not applicable because there are no environmental features. List of any other known modifications needed for the project. There are none. And I think any other relevant information of note. I think that's it. So I don't know if Bill, Grant, you guys want to add anything?
Nothing from our end, thanks, Amy. Just would like to reiterate, and this is just a subdivision of the existing property. We have no intentions to change the existing property in any way.
Bill, anything to add?
No, it's been covered.
Okay. Any questions? You'll have to unmute yourself. Is that D?
Hang on, Mark. Mark's trying to find his unmute button.
Hi, this is Mark. I have one question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Regarding the one thing, proposed limits of disturbance, I realize this is just a subdivision thing. Is there any plans for along the south side of the parking lot, or actually along the roadway there's a brick wall along Farrington Road that was constructed by the original owners as a block, if you will, between the residents' homes and the parking area. It's in complete disarray. I'm the vice president of the Civic Association. I'm only asking because we've had numerous calls, complaints along that line regarding the wall and its condition, and it's literally falling apart. Were there any plans in an update on the wall itself?
Hey, Mark, thanks. Thanks. That was not part of the subdivision, and thanks for bringing that to our attention. I'm not, just off of my own memory, familiar with the exact wall you're talking about, but we can definitely take a look at it, and to the extent that that is our responsibility, we would look into bring that to a better condition. But that's separate, I guess, from the rest of this subdivision project.
And I completely agree. I just wanted to bring it to somebody's attention, and we would be more than willing to meet at another time if it was something we're even could work together along that property line just to take a peek at it.
Talking about
Absolutely.
this
If
wavy,
you,
the wavy wall, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Stockade
We've
fence.
actually, we've been in
What?
pretty good
Stockade.
contact with the property management in the past. We have no contact now, but I'm assuming we will gain one somewhere in the near future. And there was periodically a lot of talk about reconstructing that wall. But then with, of course, with the changes in ownership and things like that, it just kind of fell apart, and we never had any other updates regarding it. But we do have a lot of residents along that roadway, and it's definitely an impact.
And then he stopped.
So I just, you know, again, I realize this isn't necessarily about that. However, I just wanted to bring it up just so that we could have some conversation about it down the road. Thank you.
absolutely. And I think I've got your email here, so I will connect you with our local property manager as well.
I appreciate that.
Excuse me?
Sure.
I wanted to ask, since he was talking about the wall, behind our house is the stockade fence, which also belongs to the mall, which is falling apart. It goes from the bike path behind our houses all the way down to the other two buildings at the far side. And that fence back
Okay.
here is falling apart.
You're talking about back here?
Okay.
She's talking about the talking about the final fence too.
Yeah, and the other two buildings at the end, I mean, it's a totally different company, but they have replaced their fence with a white vinyl fence, but they stopped where the mall's property starts. But this whole stockade fence back here has been falling apart. It's got holes in it. It's broken. It's a mess.
If I can just interject one more time, this is Mark again. I appreciate what you're talking about, ma'am, and that we're definitely talking about the same thing. I just know that this meeting isn't for that specific purpose, but if they're willing to get with us at a later period,
Yeah.
I think we can definitely work to some resolution for that.
Absolutely. And thank you both for bringing that to our attention. We will get in touch with you.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? Anyone?
Mark Potter has a question in the chat.
There is no change to the proposed use of the property. You know, our company invests in shopping centers. We intend to continue to operate this as a shopping center and hope to lease up the vacant spaces.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, then, oh, Dee?
Hey, I have a quick question. Let me turn my volume down. In terms of the HOA for the community, will someone make sure they forward their contact information to us? And do you know what I'm talking about?
The contact information for the,
Buyer, management group.
Yes, I will put our management group in contact with Mark. I see his email right here at harundaleoakwood@outlook.com.
Yes. It's about the annual billing for the property.
Okay.
All right,
I
I just
will
need,
connect.
I just need the contact information. Thank you, Mark Grant.
Yep, absolutely.
okay. If there's no other questions, thank you all for coming to this virtual meeting on Harundale Plaza. On this, it's May 5th at 6:16 p.m. So I'm going to stop the recording